Okay. Hi, everybody, and welcome to May's monthly astrology forecast with Christine at Christine Venus Astrology and me, Freyja, at Midheaven Moonrising. And welcome. We are hoping to get together once a month and give a monthly forecast. So welcome, Christine. Nice to see you today.
Welcome. Thank you. Welcome as well. It's good to be here, and I'm excited to start doing these monthly forecasts together.
Absolutely. I love that we're doing this like across the world, like across the ocean. This really works well for both our Uranus's in Sag. It's exciting. And
yeah, I'm in Australia, so where are you?
I'm in the UK.
Okay, pretty cool.
So I'm just a couple of hours away from London, on the coast. Whereabouts are you in Australia?
I'm in Queensland, in Brisbane, so in a nice sunny state. So lots of sunshine for me, luckily.
Oh, and warmth. We've actually got some sunshine here today, which is lovely. So I'm going to be soaking up every ounce of it later on today.
Definitely. Yeah, because it does get quite cold there, doesn't it, as well?
Oh, yeah. And quite overcast as well. So there's like a lot of grey. So you get a blue sky day, everybody like runs for the door and is like, right, what can we do? How much can we pack into our day?
So the streets are packed when it's sunny.
Absolutely, yeah, and the beaches as well. Like the beaches aren't that far away from where I live.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, they get pretty busy. Everyone's a bit nuts. Like we go in the sea even if it's like quite cold.
Nuts. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we start today by talking about the first part of the month. And Mercury is, well, it's currently, as you said in earlier when we were having a chat, in its shadow phase and it's stationing retrograde. So it will be going retrograde on the 10th. I think it's 10th where you are, but it's the 11th where I am.
It might 10th, maybe around the 10th, 11th.
Yeah, it's Mercury retrograde, so the details might be slightly confused. But yeah, 10th or 11th, I think. Mercury is retrograding into the sign of Gemini, back into the sign of Taurus, and then it will be moving direct June, I think.
I do have the dates. I thought I wrote the dates.
Yeah, I think it's what's the word?
Stationary direct.
I think it's 3 weeks retrograde.
Yeah, so usually 2 weeks shadow, 3 weeks retrograde, and then another 2 week shadow. So
yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, we'll have 3 weeks of it from the 10th of May. So I'd say that until the 10th of May until like the 31st. 31st, and then 2 weeks in shadow after that. Yeah, so up until like the 14th of June, I guess. That's a long, it feels like a long time, doesn't it?
I know it does, and then suddenly it happens and it's like no time at all,
and it's over.
And I think the thing that's really like sticking out for me lately in terms of retrograde motions is the stationing element of when the planet is really slowing right down, and you can feel that kind of revisiting and re-going over old topics is kind of coming back to the surface in the kind of lived reality that we're experiencing from the planetary influence, like down here on Earth. And so the stationing energy as we're in now is like, it's like my favorite analogy. I always use it, but for those of you that haven't heard it before, it's like when a container ship is slowing down and going through the water, but it's slowing down to turn around, and there is so much energy needed for that, just that action of movement and redirection to take place. And I think once I started focusing on that image, it was much easier for me to kind of gain a perspective on what stationing really means and how it's going to affect our actual lives. So yeah, in terms of like if you're trying to learn something and you're just getting frustrated, when we come up to a station, it gives us that chance to kind of take a deep breath in and think, okay, refocus. What do I need to look at again? Where do I need to revisit? What kind of, you know, it's a bit like when you have a full moon, and it can shine a light and bring results, but it can also shine a light on the things that you've forgotten And especially with a Mercury retrograde, it's like the light is on. What details have you not quite gathered together, which mean that your results aren't coming yet? And so I think a Mercury retrograde is a great time to be, just gradually filing away all those extra bits of information and
finalizing things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's like if you're trying to buy I've never actually bought a house, but I hear if you're trying to buy a house, it's like signing all the papers and all that stuff that just makes it really a slow experience, because it tends to take a few months, like from what I hear. And it's like all of that stuff, like there's solicitors involved and like all this legal stuff, and all that information has to come together so that the results can finally happen. And I find it really interesting that this Mercury retrograde is going to be taking place between the two eclipses as well. I think that's probably quite relevant.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And because I think because the ruler of Mercury's retrograde at the start will be in Taurus, because it's retrograding. Mercury retrogrades, enters Taurus May 22nd. Yes. Oh, sorry. So it'll be Gemini. Sorry, go into Gemini and then into Taurus. So then when Taurus becomes the ruler of it too, and it's like Taurus is the part of these eclipses, and eclipse energy too. So it all ends up tying in together, which we know the astrology always does anyway.
It's so beautiful, isn't it? Like every time you're like, and there's a new link, and this bit makes sense, and I love that. Yeah, because so I'm just looking at my computer behind me. Like Mercury's currently at 4 degrees of Gemini. So it's only going to get to
stationing stationing at 4 degrees as well.
It's stationing.
I think it gets to 8 degrees.
Okay. And then it's going to start going back, and it's going to go to the late degrees of Taurus, isn't it?
Yeah.
I
think it's I think that's another tie is the 27 degrees of Taurus, and I think that's where the an eclipse was. No, there was, what was it, 27 degrees of Taurus? There was something. Did we have an eclipse?
There was eclipse. Did we have a full moon?
I feel like there's something significant. And then Venus and Mars and Pluto, they were meeting they were meeting it. No, that was in Capricorn.
1 second.
No, I feel like there was something there at that 27 degrees.
It must have been a full moon, I think, because I'm looking at the planets behind me. Where are we? Yeah, because the North Node's at 22, isn't it? So it's not there.
Yeah.
Pluto is now retrograde, and he's just at 28 degrees, so he would have been at 27, making a trine to 27 of
Taurus as well.
When he's stationed retrograde, I think. No, because he's still coming back from 28. But I can't quite remember what that was. I
think there was something there.
Rings true for me. So I'm sure it'll come to us whilst we're talking.
Probably. But but I fully agree. Like, it's always that Mercury is that time to rethink, reevaluate, go over whatever we were working on, and a chance to fresh and vibrate or put some new energy into like an old project or something like that as well. Something that you sort of forgot about, or something that and it can even be like, as we know too, Mercury retrograde can be things from the past coming back, so people coming from the past. So again, could be people or projects coming up from the past. So so things that you can review over again and see whether you can get something more out of it, or try and do it in a new or different way, or something like that as well. Because I think it is a time too, once Mercury does that review period and it starts to go forward again, then that's when it's very much in that that energy of I lost my thought there. I was going to say I was going to say refreshing, or starting new ideas coming through. Sorry, the new ideas will start to come through of what that Mercury retrograde, what that shadow, what you went through, all that reviewing and then the new stuff will start to come through at that point. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's interesting when you say about the retrogrades bringing, so when any planet goes retrograde, it can have a similar effect in terms of like bringing people back into our lives.
Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting in terms of just having had the Taurus new moon eclipse, and we're moving into next weekend the Scorpio full moon eclipse, lunar eclipse, and the eclipses often have that very fated feeling, don't they? Yeah. And so with a Mercury retrograde in between them, it's like a very fated meeting of the past coming through because of the retrograde. And I think because we had that, that Venus retrograde from from December to February, I think it was.
I think it was like November,
and that
December.
Was so intense, and it was with Pluto, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that just, I don't know, that feels like particularly linked to this. And I guess because Mercury retrograde is going to go back to the late degrees of Taurus, and late degrees of Taurus formed a trine to that Venus Pluto conjunction.
Yeah.
And so it's like themes of romance, money, values as well,
relationships,
coming up,
all that coming up.
And the Mercury retrograde going back into the Venus ruled sign of Taurus. And then just having had that new moon in Taurus, it's a very Venus has been so significant the last 6 months, really, hasn't it?
Yeah, it was crazy.
I've never felt more
so much Venus energy and so much going on Venus. I know, it's crazy. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so much relationship based energy too. And all that. Yeah.
And
values, about our values. Yeah. The big values.
Yeah,
I think is huge. Yeah.
I've never felt so so it can be quite I guess depending on your chart, it can be comfortable or uncomfortable, but I've never felt it's such a theme in my life, in terms of values, and kind of checking in with yourself, and do you want to keep them the same, or do you want to change them? And I suppose with that full moon in Libra that we had at the last full moon, that's what is Libra? It's cardinal, isn't it? Cardinal energy. So that would be up for change and interested in trying new things, whereas all of this Taurus energy, so Libra being a Venus ruled sign and Taurus being a Venus ruled sign, now with all of this Taurus energy, that's very fixed and not up for change, and so the idea of change could be a lot more uncomfortable, and then ultimately, if you do manage to change, I guess the results would be a lot more long lasting and solid in the sign of Taurus, whereas Libra, it could be a bit more I'm going to try this and try that, and never quite committing, whereas in Taurus, it's Venus is asking you to really commit to what your values are, and your finances, and your relationships, and all of those Venus-y topics.
Because Venus does like to, in Taurus, the Taurus energy likes to hold on to things and doesn't like to let go.
And I've just been talking actually about this with my subscribers, because I run a monthly astrology subscription, and I sent them out a video the other day, and I was just I feel so I've got Chiron in Taurus natally, which is kind of the wound from childhood that you carry into adulthood, and it's you can kind of heal through your Chiron sign. And one way that I feel that this manifests for me is always worrying. So we talk about Taurus holding on to stuff, always worrying there's not going to be enough in terms of food. That's just one example, a very simplistic example. And so I've been looking through my cupboards at home, and I'm instead of going shopping, you should see my cupboards. I wish I could take you downstairs and show you around. Even in the fridge, we've got stuff in there from Christmas, and it's it's still in date, long lasting stuff. Again, very Taurus, because it's holding its value, it's still very worthy.
I know all about that, especially with food. I'm a Taurus son, so I
love it. And so it's why am I worried about using this half a jar of pickled onions when just use them?
I know, I do that too, and then things I'll hold on to that long, it goes off, and then I don't even end up eating it anyway, because I just held on to it too long.
then there's still this sense of satisfaction, like, oh, I managed to really get the most out of that because it's gone off now, so it's not edible, but it's like I could have eaten it, you know.
Oh dear.
It's funny. Yeah, and so I think that's the really funny thing about Taurus holding on to stuff. I'm like really holding on to the contents of my cupboard, and actually it's like I think there's a real magic in trusting in Mother Nature and the earth that she will provide. So if there is this fear of like, no, I need to, wherever Taurus falls in your birth chart, so even if you don't have any planets or angles in Taurus, Taurus is still activated within a house in your birth chart. So depending on the area of life that it's activating, this will be where you really like to hold on to things and often feel like things are your possessions. And so my youngest son has got moon in Taurus, and I really think he thinks that I am absolutely his possession.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, really fixed. And I think he suffers a lot more with separation anxiety than my moon in Capricorn baby did or does, who's we're still very connected, but he's much happier to kind of try out new things, whereas, and you know, the baby's young, so of course like he's very connected to me, but I just feel that moon in Taurus with him, and he's so slow to try any new foods. Like weaning with him is it's a slow process. So very Taurian, very slow and steady, and knows his own mind, and isn't up for negotiation.
Stubborn.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, my mum is Taurus moon, so I know all about that.
I'm hoping one day he's going to turn into an amazing cook and cook for me.
Hopefully. You can only hope so. That will please your Taurus Chiron then too.
It will. Very healing.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's funny. But and I mean that's a bit scary, like during these times, I guess, when there's like threats of food shortages and stuff like that. And, you know, and,
absolutely. It's such a theme, isn't it, because of the North Node being in Taurus as well. It's like we're our collectively we're all in this boat together, and you know, we are experiencing a lot of suddenly, you know, your favorite thing isn't in the supermarket anymore because they just can't get hold of it, or you know, there's blocks in the supply chain. And I've definitely been thinking more about like growing my own food and just trying to be a bit more self-sufficient. And I think there's no harm in that, but it definitely, there's a huge sense of like needing to trust in the earth and what she can provide for us. And I think anyone with like planets in Taurus, they have like a natural affinity with this. And just trusting in Mother Nature and her provision. And I think when you have Chiron in Taurus like me, it's just like, no, but it's so scary. Like, how can I trust that it's going to be okay, you know? And it's just like, it's really good to be surrounded by lots of Taurian energy. Funnily enough, Taurus is a very mothering sign, and or very linked with with the mum and nourishment. And when I became a mum for the first time, all of my mum friends were Taurus sons, which I just find fascinating. It's like the way of astrology, isn't it? People always come into your life, and the symbolism and the archetypes always come into your life, you know, just at the right time. And I find that fascinating.
Very interesting.
Did that on the same day as the Mercury retrograde, we've also got Jupiter going to Aries. So is there anything else you wanted to say about Mercury retrograde, or do you think
no, that's pretty much it. So everyone knows normal Mercury retrograde themes is like, you know, usually don't sign any new contracts during Mercury retrograde unless you're up for changes down the track later on, because you know until you do it and experience it, it really does happen and it matters. Like, and it can be simple as a small purchase, buying something. Keep the receipt, because later on you could change your mind, or something could break or go wrong with it, or whatever else. And it's the same with contracts, with starting anything new, a new project, whatever it is. And so just be aware that there could be changes down the track. That's always the most common thing. And of course, you know, backing up your computer, all the basic stuff. But it is really essential, these things, because it does happen, you know, like, although it's like it's the stereotypical things, you know, of whatever Mercury retrograde, but they do happen. It's like backing up your computer and watching out for like car issues and travel issues and
yeah,
miscommunication, all that sort of stuff as well.
Yeah.
So
and watching what you're saying, like think before you speak if it's at all possible, because it's that thing of like not being able to kind of help yourself because you just want to communicate everything, and it's like everything can tumble out of your mouth when perhaps you didn't want to say everything because it's perhaps just not that beneficial to everybody in the conversation.
And I think more so when Mercury's in Gemini, that too, because it's naturally like that. It's naturally chatty, talky, gossipy, just like says things to share information, just really excited, inquisitive, and just wants to like, just get heaps of energy going, sort of thing. So you have to be careful of that, definitely. Sure.
Gemini is very curious, isn't it? And it's just absolutely, just think before you speak if you can. Otherwise you might be repairing quite a lot of your words during the Mercury retrograde period.
Especially with relationships, because it's all about relationships, everything at the moment.
Absolutely.
Definitely. But so Jupiter is also going into Aries on the 10th, so that should be exciting, because Jupiter is quite an happy sign in Aries, because it's like it's a more positive energy, it's that fire sign energy too, and it's like Aries can have that really positive inspirational energy, and it can like do all these amazing things. It can expand and create and give us all this like really good energy to work with.
It's highly creative, isn't it? It's fantastic.
I think that's the fire energy, and there's and like I don't know if it was something in ancient astrology that I read, and it was something that about that Aries used to be the intuitive sign, like fire was I don't remember if it was Aries or fire was the intuitive sign. It wasn't like water. It wasn't water. It was fire. Like that was where the intuition came from, or whatever. So.
And I think that's definitely true. The more fire heavy people that I have in my life, I think that definitely plays out true in reality. I've got two fire sign boys, one Leo and one Aries, and I think the intuition, perhaps it's just because they're little, I don't know, but I think their intuition is very strong. And kind of openly so as well. It's like a celebration of intuition, instead of when you get that heavy like Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio water intuition like I have, it can be a bit you kind of keep it hidden and you keep it below the surface because you don't want anyone to see, whereas the fire signs naturally celebrate, don't they, because it's about passion and love and wanting to share experiences with people. I think that's really inspiring.
Definitely.
And it's going to be great to have some fire in the chart for now.
And another thing that a long time ago I read was that Jupiter is actually like for the collective a good place to look at like what the year ahead will be. And I know we're like not at the start of the year now, but what Jupiter is doing apparently really affects us in the collective. So it's like now Jupiter going into Aries, it's like really, that Aries energy is going to affect the collective too. And I guess Aries energy is more like warlike too, which can be a little bit scary because there's a lot of positive things about Jupiter, but there is also that, we can overindulge, we can be over optimistic, we can have excess of things and all that. It can expand things negatively as well. So absolutely. The Aries warlike energy or any of that sort of stuff, and it's kind of collective thing, it could expand some of that energy as well, which may not be as good and positive, but
because it's a Mars ruled sign, isn't it? So Mars is the warrior, and Aries is like the ultimate war warrior, and and Jupiter is expansive, and so it's expanding these ideas. And I suppose nobody's unaware of what's going on in the world, and it's just interesting to watch. And when you said actually that we're not at the beginning of the year anymore, in terms of like astrology, April is astrological new year, isn't it, as we move into Aries season? So in a sense it's like it's coming maybe a month late but it's quite a nice like correlation that it's close to the beginning of the astrological new year. And I'm just so excited to have some fire in the sky, metaphorically speaking, instead of we've had so much water and earth. Everything's been very intuitive and sensual, but even as somebody that's got lots of water and earth in my birth chart, and that's like a natural place for me to be. Even I'm a bit like, oh, can we please have some like action now, you know, and some inspiration and some positivity and some creativity, because I think that Jupiter Neptune conjunction that we had in Pisces, beautiful, but if I'm honest, slightly depressing for some. And to have some fire now is like really nice in time for summer as well, that we can actually start like doing stuff. And because this year is so different to the last few years, we're actually able to get out and do some fun stuff. And Aries is that cardinal, the first cardinal sign of the zodiac that just likes to get out and initiate, because cardinal signs initiate things. Not so good at completing or finishing off. But you know, I always think about this in terms of business, because I think, like, you know, you have that strong cardinal energy. It's like initiating and having the it's like a business think tank. You know, you have all these amazing ideas, and you're not the one that actually needs to fulfill the idea. You just have the initial idea and you pass it on to somebody else, and then, you know, move on to having new ideas. And I feel like I've always thought that would be like my ultimate job, is to have like business ideas, really creative business ideas, and then pass them on to like companies so that they can execute them. Because, like, you know, I get bored down the line. I'm like, actually, no, I'm going to go off and do this now.
Well, that's very entrepreneurial, isn't it? Anyway, because that's what they do, start businesses and then sell them. So yeah,
I don't know how to do it, but it's very entrepreneurial energy. And I was thinking as well, my when I was talking about my Aries sun, as in, you know, male child, not the sun in the sky. Aries is very much, you know, it's the head in terms of the body part, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And they lead with the head and they bring the feet in later. And as my son is learning, he's 1 year old, he's learning to kind of climb onto the sofa and off again. And he's constantly just leading with his head onto the floor. And I'm just like, dude, like, such an hour.
It's like, please land on soft floor. Please land on soft floor.
Like scattering cushions everywhere so that he doesn't hurt himself. But it's so Aries, and I just thought I'm watching him a lot at the moment, and I think when Jupiter moves on to his sun, it's going to be like, whoa. It's going to be stopping.
What degrees is his sun?
No, he was nearly a Taurus, so it's like 28, I think it's 28. One second, hang on. I think I've got his chart over here. Where are we? Oh no, it's 24.
Oh, okay, yeah, 24.
That's right, because his Venus is 2944, because it changed sign 2 hours after he was born.
Wow, that's nuts.
So it's interesting, like that real final push of energy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Also, so Jupiter finishing in Pisces is the end of a 12-year cycle too. I think 12, 13-year cycle, because it's 12, 13 years Jupiter going through its cycle, 12, 13 months it goes through each sign. So and this is the start of a new cycle as well. So it's the start of a new cycle for another 12, 13 years. So it's another thing, I guess we can look back at, like 2010, I think it will be. Or, I don't know if it's 2009, 2010, 12, 13 years ago, when Jupiter was in Aries at that time again, and what was happening in our life then, and what new things could have been coming in. Of course, the themes will always be different later on. We have, history repeats in a sense, but there's always like little differences, because the sky's not always exactly the same. But that's like another thing too. But it's exciting that it's a new 13-year cycle as well with Jupiter. So
absolutely,
I think that's pretty cool. An end of an era, and new
I love
beginnings
tracking
in Aries.
cycles. Sorry.
Yeah, and new beginnings in Aries, with Aries energy.
Absolutely.
And it's I think it's very much about people, new beginnings for probably everyone, stepping more into the individual self and who they are, because Aries is very much about us, our individual self, and like our identity. So people really stepping into the identity of who they are, and growing within that, and learning about themselves, because Jupiter likes us to learn and teach us as well. It's a teacher. So and I think that and probably with that, like from a reward wise from Jupiter, the more you step into your own individual power and be your true self, and take action on things in life, and put that energy out there, initiate things, and go after do that Aries energy, then I think you'll get the gifts and rewards and opportunities that will come from Jupiter from doing that.
Yeah, it's like embracing the bravery and the courage of the warrior, isn't it? And the more we embrace that
the more, and confidence energy. Yeah, and that confident energy, the more we do that, the more we're going to get back.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's perfect. Yeah, that's such a great I'm so excited for Jupiter in Aries. I think I was a bit anticipatory about it when I was thinking about it earlier this year, but actually now I'm really ready for it, and I just think bring it on. You know, it's exciting, it's brand new, and like you say, it's the starting of a whole new 12-year cycle, especially because Aries is the first sign in the zodiac, so we've just finished up that very Pisces, very kind of like you know, just thinking about like pandemics and stuff like that, it was very much about like institutions like hospitals and illness and
if we finish that, then that's good. If we can stop expanding that, that's good.
Absolutely. And that sort of isolation period, and there's like nothing isolated about you know,
that's very Pisces like isolation too. Exactly. So that's a good point as well, that we're finishing and completing that part, which is really good.
Absolutely. Is there I guess they're the kind of main things. We've still got Saturn in, so I'm just looking at the chart, Saturn in Aquarius, haven't we, at 24 degrees. So still kind of Saturn likes to restrict and put up boundaries in terms of sort of delivering us to adulthood. I always think of, you know, once you've been through a Saturn
wants us to grow up,
slightly more adult after we've been through like a strong Saturn transit, like a Saturn opposition or a Saturn square or a Saturn return. And in Aquarius it's about groups, other people, the collective, and humanity. I mean, you can't turn the news on at the moment without seeing the word humanity and humanitarian aid and things like that. So that's still in the final decan now, isn't it, of Aquarius.
And it will also be in sextile when we get onto the lunar eclipse too, sextile into the lunar eclipse and trining the north node. So there'll be some Saturn energy. Is it in, I think it is in a sextile or in a square? Hang on, let me
square.
It's in a square. So Pluto's in a sextile and Saturn will be in a square. That's right. So
that's really constructive energy in terms of that super powerful Scorpio eclipse that we're going to have. So that's next week. Is that on the, what date is the Scorpio eclipse?
So 10th of May was Mercury Retrograde, and then the next thing so the next thing is May 16th. So maybe May 15th for some people, like really late.
I think
maybe
15th in the UK.
And or May 16th for others. But in Capricorn, sextile with the moon, and within 3 or just over 3 degrees, I think, and then squaring with Saturn. So if I move to that.
And it's the south node, isn't it? That's why we get the eclipses, because we've got the full moon at one of the ends of the nodal axis, and so this full moon is at the south node end of the nodal axis, which is in Scorpio, opposing the north node in Taurus. So it's like, if the north node in Taurus is where we're moving collectively, then the south node in Scorpio is like where we've been, and the kind of the knowledge that we can bring from, it's past life stuff as well, isn't it? The knowledge we can bring from what we've experienced previously, and the north node being where we're going. So it's never like, I used to have this real thing thinking like the south node was like, oh, you don't you cut it off completely, you don't put any attention to it, you don't do it. And then I learned that you embrace it and you use it as your power to then move towards the north node. Absolutely. And really utilize what you've learned, because the south node is so comfortable to you because it's exactly what you know. It's the north node, which is real, like brand new horizons. It's the countries you've never visited before, it's the places you've never been, and it's learning these new skills, and it's north node and south node are always in opposite signs. So no matter if your south node is in Scorpio, then your north node is definitely in Taurus, exactly the same sign but opposite, same degree but opposite the sign. So I think with this full moon, I was watching a really great video from Pam Gregory. Do you follow her?
Yes, I haven't watched any videos for a while, but I used to back in the day watch quite a few of hers. Yeah.
And so I just love what she said about this eclipse, is that it's just super powerful, because it's so emotional, because it's a full moon, which is really emotional. It's in the strongest, deepest water sign, which is really emotional. The most
emotional water sign, pretty much.
Yeah. And it's an eclipse, which is even more emotional. And thinking about fated people coming into our lives, and fated events as well. And in this
eclipses kind of are fated, they're destined, they bring situations, people into our life, and and they shake and stir things up. You've got that sort of Uranian sense to them, where they're like, things can enter and come into our life really fast.
Suddenly, and sudden change of direction.
And I think that what makes this lunar eclipse even more powerful than the solar eclipse we just had, is that it is closer to degrees with the actual nodes this time. So it's at, I've got the chart up now, so it's 25 degrees it's happening at, and the nodes are at 22 degrees. So it's
brilliant,
like less than 3 degrees, that they are they're meeting at. So I think that makes it super powerful too. And then because it's Scorpio, we know like the rulers of Scorpio are Aries and Mars and Pluto. And Pluto is so much about like the deep emotional shit coming to the surface and all that sort of stuff. So I think that makes it even more intense as well, because it's like Pluto ruled, and like I said, it's in that sextile with Pluto too, the south node. So Pluto is giving it that beneficial energy to draw all the shit up, to bring all the shit to the surface, to bring up the secrets, to bring up the psychological matters, the sex issues, the trauma, the power struggles,
all the juicy stuff,
all that Scorpio murky, dirty water stuff that we don't like to get into. It's like all the deep hidden stuff, all that coming to the surface. And that's what
fear as well, isn't it? Fear energy.
Fear, definitely. That's a big thing with Pluto. Our fears coming up.
Is it
what we keep hidden?
Doing something with Neptune as well? I'm just having a look.
Neptune and Mars, I think I wrote down Neptune and Mars are conjunct at the same time. Conjuncting. So they're at 20, so they're just under a degree away at the time. So maybe like in the next few days. So they will be they're basically in a sextile with the north node, and that means obviously with the trine, then with the south node. So it's a trine with the south node.
Absolutely.
So like that's more so we've got Pluto and Neptune together, and if Neptune's all about dissolving things and an illusion and stuff like that too, and and all that with the Mars energy, it's like that masculine, that fiery, that driven energy coming in together with that war-like energy too. And
I think that's because Jupiter will have just gone into Aries a few days beforehand.
Exactly that too. So it's just like it's all going to be just it could be a bit explosive really when you think about it, like that Mars energy with Neptune, and then it's with the Pluto energy and everything else going on, like and Scorpio, it seems very explosive. So whether it's explosive in the world or whether it's explosive for people in their lives, like all the shit comes to the surface and it explodes out or whatever it is, then
absolutely. But I suppose in a sense it's from great, we have to go to these dark places to ultimately transform and
rise up as the phoenix,
rise up as a phoenix and transcend and
to evolve us so that we can move to higher frequencies and like that's what the eclipses are doing. It's like getting us more in alignment with people that are more on our path, projects or whatever, our jobs, our workplaces, our situations, our life, our living situations, everything. It's shaking everything up in our lives, so we're more in alignment, so that when over the next 6 months this energy keeps like manifesting, and also like more crazy stuff keeps happening in the world, because we know we've got some more like Uranus and Saturn squares coming up, and like a lot more intense energy coming up. So like it's preparing us so that we're in the right places with the right situations with the right people, so we can be supported with that Taurus energy, have a really good support system, and have people around us, and like whether it's communities or whatever it is, and whether that's what that Saturn is doing too, making us get serious and get real build like good communities and situations like that, so we can support each other and have those structures in place, so when the crazy squares and everything else come, we're prepared.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's so true. And I was just thinking, like, thinking about like strong Pluto Scorpio things, and I was thinking about a transit that I went through a while back. A Pluto as like an opposition, Uranus opposite Pluto, a few years ago. And I was like, this is such a classic, to kind of like archetypally, I literally remember at that transit, I was in this room, and I remember leaving the room and coming back, and I left my old self in that room, and I came back and I was reborn. There was literally my old self, like had basically died, and I'd moved into this new phase. And I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it, because I'd never felt it so profoundly, and I didn't know it at the time because I wasn't really paying attention. But I think astrology is so great in terms of looking at the future, and also in terms of looking back, because once you can sort of analyze transits of the past, you can really get a sense of how they might show up for you in the future as well. And with Pluto and Scorpio transits, they're always going to be deeply powerful and transformational. So, people often talk about death. That's just in a sense, it's one very tiny interpretation, because it is more so the transformation and the change, and the getting rid of the sludge and the shit and everything that we were just talking about. So that there is this fresh kind of got your new eyes on a new world kind of thing, instead of living in that past and in that murk
and being stuck in it. Yeah, it's like that Scorpio energy too is a fixed sign, so it gets stuck in it until something comes along, like eclipses come along and they break things down, they like cut things out or whatever, like it forces, it's forceful energy, exactly, because it's like we weren't moving. And especially if it's like we're talking Taurus and Scorpio, it's where we're stuck, we're not taking any action because we're like either too stubborn, or we're not seeing our value and our worth, or we're stuck in the psychological stuff and whatever else. And it's like really coming
this is why having Jupiter and Aries is so perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely, because it's going to help.
Gives us that bit of energy to kind of think, actually, no, maybe I can make a change. Maybe I can face some of this stuff, and maybe I can work through some of it, instead of just being sort of stuck and closed in.
Yeah, and Venus in Aries is probably going to help that too, because Venus is our values, it's our love language, it's the way that we're interacting, I guess, with in a loving way with whoever, and it's like, in Aries, it's going to make us more cutthroat. It's going to make us go after what we want. It's going to make us a bit more selfish in that. But, sometimes we need that, because otherwise we get too stuck in the people pleaser energy of Venus, where we don't take any action. We don't do anything. We're too busy people pleasing. We're being too lazy. We're in too much pleasure and relaxing and all those illusion themes. And we're not getting anywhere. We're just like missing. You can miss opportunities and stuff like that, because we're not, so that's where that, I guess, that when that Aries energy with Venus in that Aries energy, she can take action and she can get moving, and then move on her values and what's going to excite her and all that, and not be stuck in that stuck people.
That Scorpio eclipse is going to be very linked with personal power, isn't it? So it's really telling us, if you have been giving too much of yourself to other people, then now's the time to claim it back. And with the Aries energy all coming in as we get, the Jupiter ingress and then the Venus ingress, like you said, then we'll feel like we're kind of deserving. It's not even a sense of deserving. It's like absolutely a sense of knowing, like, this is what I need. This is what I want. And it's not about everybody else anymore. It's about me. and I think it's really important to reflect on that as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like you say, we can get far too easily into this kind of people pleaser attitude, mentality, and if we're not looking after ourselves, then we can't. There's only so much we can give out before we implode.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's it. Yeah. And I think that's that's the other side of. If you look at it, Libra Venus energy, it's very much bottle things up. And even Taurus is like that too. Taurus can be pushed and pushed and pushed and be really calm. And then they get to the point where they're pushed so much, and then that one little button, then last one just they explode as well. So that's that that Taurus energy too can be like that, where it's like you think they're so calm and peaceful, but you just push them too far, and it's not like that at all.
And I think it's like that as well for the strong Pisces stuff that we've just had, because it is so much like, let me help you and let me put my stuff on hold, because I empathize and I feel what you feel, and that's lovely and it's beautiful, but like you say, ultimately you can find yourself in a complete puddle on the floor, or you can explode because you've just given far too much and there's nothing left in the reserves for yourself. So I think there's been so much of that. Every conversation I'm having at the moment with people, like friends and clients, it's like just a lot of reclaiming of power and thinking of the self instead of other people. There's a strong sense of community as well, like there's sharing with that Saturn in Aquarius and the North Node in Taurus, and like kind of I keep imagining people like growing vegetables together in community gardens and stuff. I think that's great, but that's so nourishing because we're getting something back from it. It's not just giving.
Exactly. It's a equal energy exchange. That's it. I think also with so talking about that, the people pleaser and all that sort of energy and giving too much away, and I think with Saturn also squaring, that's where Saturn comes in and says, so I think at the solar eclipse, Saturn was there saying to us, let go of boundaries, we've had too many walls up and all that, we need to let go. And I think that we had to let go of all the ones that were no longer serving us, and now this is going to come in the Saturn and say, now you need to put in strong, good boundaries, healthy ones that aren't around like toxic shit, around all that crap that we need to release and let go. But now those ones that you released and let go before at the last eclipse, now you need to put refresh new boundaries, put new and it could bring up some obstacles and some like situations where we need to detour and go with a different way, because Saturn does that in a square, it detours us, or it stops us to make us like take another path, or puts an obstacle in place, or makes us create a new boundary, or whatever it is, so I feel like Saturn will be there to sort of like then refresh that energy from before, where it's like that we let the old boundaries go, but now we need to put some new ones in place so that we aren't being too people pleaser like and all that, but still remembering that we had to release and let go the ones at the past one, which were ones where we're just like not letting anyone in. We got too strict of boundaries where we don't let anyone into our life, and we're blocking, having too many walls up and like never opening our hearts up to love and all that sort of thing.
And isn't that, and the Saturn square Uranus, isn't that we had a couple of those last year, didn't we? So it's like a repeating cycle. So those themes are kind of can ebb and flow back in again. So you might find that the things that were happening last year during the Saturn Uranus squares are the kind of that's the energy of what you might be experiencing this time. So I always feel like once you've had that retrograde, the revisiting is much more kind of, you've got a bit of knowledge behind it, instead of like the experiencing the transit for the very first time. So once we've had a retrograde transit and then going revisiting, you're armed with more knowledge. Knowledge is power and all that kind of stuff, so it's potentially can be more constructive and productive, instead of just completely like, oh, what is this, I don't want you, like you say, it's not just about ignoring it and like not facing it, it's tackling it head on, like like the bull the bull of Taurus.
Definitely.
Do you think that's it for the
I think that's for the eclipse? I think it's just, we know it's just a lot of Scorpio stuff, and we just, like we said, eclipses are faded, they bring in faded situations and whatever else, and that's we're releasing, and it's because it's it's that full moon as well, it's all about releasing, letting go, a culmination point, a celebration, an ending.
It could bring results.
Celebration, completion of something as well, especially like I said, we're at the end of this huge 12-13 year transit with Jupiter as well, so there could be lots of things ending now and completing and finishing with that energy.
Absolutely.
So
and Scorpio's inheritance as well, isn't it, like inheriting things from other people.
When we're looking at the nodes, and that's what the South Node is like releasing and letting go of the need of other people's resources and money and finances and loans and all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And
moving towards
embracing
your own, like you said, your own ability to be sustainable and grow your own food and do all that sort of stuff yourself and all that.
Yeah, being self-sufficient. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
and
but
like
your personal resources, not other people's, moving away from other people's.
Yeah, and using your own skills and abilities to you know, be able to sustain yourself and look after yourself and have security and create abundance and whatever else in your life as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's that's a nice finishing point, I think. Do you think that's
the only other thing later in the month is that we do have the sun moving into Gemini on the 20th?
Yes.
Which which will just, that'll be obviously, you know, we're going from Taurus, which sun in Taurus is nice. But sun,
it's that nice kind of steady period before. I was thinking about this the other day, that Gemini's it's like the salesman, isn't it? And it's when we've, you know, finally got some crops to kind of take to market and to sell, and you know, to kind of barter on prices and information. And I always think of Gemini because it's your locality as well, your local area. It's like popping to the nearest shop, having a chat with your neighbors, cousins, siblings, all those kind of very like formative relationships, isn't it? And so I think Gemini season, absolutely, it's a lovely season to have in the year, because it's very busy. There's lots going on. There's lots of, you know, information shared and lots of social activities, which would be great this year, because, you know, the last few years have been a bit odd in terms of if we've been allowed to socialize or not, whereas this year should be reasonably, you know, back to normal, if that's a term we're ever going to use.
We'll see after this Saturn Uranus square but that's right. And it's very much like I said, it's like sharing of information. I think it's like the sun's in Aries, so it's like initiating the new ideas, and then in Taurus it's like grounding them and planning them or whatever, and then in Gemini it's like thinking about them, planning them, writing things out, putting ideas out there, talking and communicating with people, like networking and sharing, all that sort of stuff. And like it'll get really busy and it could feel like fast, especially we've got all these planets going into Aries now. There won't be much left so much in Pisces necessarily anymore. So it's like between Gemini and Mars energy, Aries energy, we're going to have like more fast-paced energy. Like we're going to be going. So if you felt like it's been really slow, and if you felt like you haven't been able to get much done, or if you felt like things haven't been moving in your life or whatever, after this eclipse and then after this sun moving into Gemini, because sun is our vitality, it's our what lights us up, what makes us happy, it's what the sun is illuminating in a chart, an area of our life that's got some really good positive energy, that's like, you know, that where we can, you know, really put work on, you know, or just like have some fun and enjoyment in as well. So in that
Mercury
Gemini,
isn't it? And Mercury is the quickest planet, so it's like that's where the speed comes from, isn't it? It's just like zipping around. And Mercury has access all areas, doesn't he? He's not like he's not limited to anything. So
sun and so when we have the sun and Mercury in Gemini, that's going to be that's going to be like a bit more hectic, I think. So definitely. And then I have on the 24th, Mars is going into Aries. So let me
Mars is going to be very happy in Aries.
So there's more Aries energy, and like Mars in its home sign in Aries, but again that's where, like, you know, I don't want to be negative and stuff like that, but then that's where more like war energy can come through and all that as well in the world, you know. But again, that's where like this whole eclipse and everything is setting us up for, is that, you know, so we can be more grounded and like more in our right places and the right people, and setting up the right foundations and all that sort of stuff, so that we can be ready for anything that comes, you know.
Absolutely. It's to be very grounded in that Taurus energy. No, that's great.
And surely like the last 2 years has prepared us anyway, in some sense, to be more prepared in the future. I don't know. You would hope so.
We'll just expect the unexpected as well. I mean, you know, shocks and surprises, because that Uranus is with the North Node still, isn't it?
Uranus is at 15 degrees. So Uranus and the North Node meet, I think, I don't know if it's in July that they're meeting up together. But where are we at there? 17 degrees, 18. Uranus is going to retrograde. Okay, so it is a little
this is a bit slow. Yeah,
where am I?
But the north nodes are always going retrograde, aren't they? Or appear to be
maybe
going
it's
backwards.
not. Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, but it'll be exciting whenever it happens anyway.
Yeah. And then also the end of the month, Venus is going into Taurus on May 28th. So
okay.
That will be nice because Venus will be in another one of her home signs. So Venus in Taurus after the Aries.
If you've been sorry.
No, you go.
I just if things have felt a little bit shaky with all the excitement of Venus in Aries and trying to start lots of new things but not necessarily following through with the results, then when Venus moves into Taurus, Venus rules Taurus, and so it's a lot more comfortable and stable. Finances, self-worth, all of those
relationships, all that stuff will be more grounded.
I feel a lot more grounded by the end of May.
And that's the amazing thing with astrology, and like why I find like it's so important to follow, because that like this energy is not going to last forever. We know it's going to change soon, and the energy can change. And like if you're in a bad energy, if it's in something in your chart that's not so wonderful or great happening, it's going to shift eventually at some point. So it's like it's not always going to be like that. Things are always
it's remembering it's all cycles, isn't it? And absolutely. That's one of the things I love about it, because if you are having a bad day or a bad week, it's just like, no, just remember that everything's going to shift and move on, and it does as well. I mean, without, it's freaky sometimes how accurate it is, but it definitely scary. Seems to work. So
it can be. And then the end of the month we have a new moon in Gemini, so on May 30th. So that could and it is May 30th, I think, for the collective. I think I used those times being collective time, so like probably US times more than anything.
So that's a really nice time for starting new projects as well, isn't it? And,
new beginnings, new opportunities.
Communicating information, and especially after a Mercury retrograde. I know we won't be out of Mercury retrograde yet, will we?
No, Mercury
in Gemini during a Mercury retrograde. But I think that just helps in terms of us really being sure about what it is that we want, the intentions we want to be setting for that new moon are definitely in alignment with what we feel. Because we will be revisiting everything, and we'll have had that Scorpio eclipse, so what we feel will be very much familiar to us still, I think.
That will be interesting actually, if that the new moon in Gemini and the ruler being Mercury in retrograde. So it will definitely be more, I guess, more of a, I guess it's a new I guess it's a time of reflection usually. Is that more of like a full moon thing, or new moon? No, new moon's more a reflection too, I guess. So I guess that it will be more of a reflecting on things. And I think maybe depending where Mercury is at that point, but it will be a good for us to then be actually wanting to manifest new moon things that are more in line with our ideas and what we actually want to move, the plans that we want to move forward on, because Mercury is very much about planning too. So what we want to actually plan and move forward with as well.
I guess it adds more of a sense of stability, doesn't it? Instead of just kind of going all out, it adds that very Saturn kind of like
it grounds the new moon Gemini more, I think, being the ruler being in retrograde in a weird way.
Which is nice because of that North Node in Taurus and our collective kind of direction anyway. It could be really helpful in terms of setting things up for the future. I think that's really positive, actually. I've never really considered it before, but it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Right.
So I
think it's that would be the end of the month, and then we'll do another episode for June.
We will. Definitely.
Absolutely.
So thank you everyone for watching today. Make sure that you follow us both on Instagram and our YouTubes. We'll put links in below. And we both post daily on Instagram, so make sure you check us out there, that's for sure. And then we'll look forward to doing another video together.
I suppose it also makes sense to mention that we're both available for readings as well.
Personal readings
via websites or Instagram.
Yeah, via Instagram, I think we both have link trees that have all our links on it as well. So yeah, absolutely. If anyone wants a personal reading, wants more, help with where the eclipse is falling, where this amazing Jupiter energy is going to be manifesting for you over the next 13 years, what sort of, luck and abundance can come through for you, or
absolutely
whatever it is that you want some help with, then we're here to be of service.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. But this has been so nice today. Thank you. It's been really
thank you
nice
for joining me
together. No worries.
Been great.
Look forward to the next one.
Yeah. All right. Take care, and I'll talk to you all soon.
Yeah. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.